Talking Hardwood.
Sponsored by Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific is now accepting applications. Entry-level and skilled positions available. Great growth potential.
Georgia Pacific.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday on The Game. And getting you set for a full weekend of college football as we get things kicked off properly with week number 1. Did enjoy week 0 this past weekend, and I know we're got Dimitri Ravenos, who's joining us on the Love Chevrolet phone lines. I know you enjoyed that late night game between Hawaii and Delaware State, though Hawaii did not cover the number. When you're watching football at the equivalent of 3 a.m. on an app on your phone, you can't help but enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just had the thrill of one of my teams kick it off. I will be real honest with you, Tyler. Did I enjoy it? No, it is going to be a long season for the Rainbow Warriors. I don't think there's any way around that. But I, look, like everybody else, right? I'm happy the sport is back. It's going to be a strange season, right? As we get used to apparently California and Texas are part of the Atlantic coast now, and all of the other big changes, 12-team playoff. But look, let's see what we have before we decide if it's the end of the world for the sport.
Yeah, definitely a lot of change, a lot of new things that we're going to have to get used to as the season goes along. One of the newer things of college football was Nick Saban joining the College Game Day desk for the first time this past weekend. And we do have to give proper credit because I think you called it sooner than anybody else did way back last year when you said, I think this time next year Nick Saban's going to be on the desk instead of the sidelines. And props to you because you were absolutely right on that.
Yeah, I just, look, I'm not going to spend all season doing this, but anytime someone says his name, I will mention I called this back in October last year. That being said, I got to tell you, Tyler, I don't love the way they're using him, or at least I didn't love the way they're using him in the first week of the season. Let Nick Saban just talk about football. Don't make him do all the goofy yuck jokes and the big fake laughter. Leave that to Desmond Howard, right? Like, I don't want to see him interviewing other coaches. I just want to see him talking ball. And as I'm sitting here watching this show, and thank you, Matt, it dawns on me, maybe this isn't a College Game Day problem. Maybe I'm just too old for College Game Day now.
I don't think you're wrong in that. I think it's something that, and look, Nick Saban has a good personality, as we've seen come through at times over the years. I do think it's something you kind of have to build him up to. There were certainly like awkward-ish type of moments with him on Saturday where he's not as comfortable doing all those kind of things just yet. And I agree with you. I think letting him talk ball, break down film, be a coach on that desk is paramount to start off with, and as time goes along, then integrate him a little bit more in some of these other things. Let him kind of show his wackier and goofier side. But again, I think it's a process, not something you can let him jump into, feet first right away and just go off and run with.
Yeah, I think it was in The Athletic maybe where they asked Paul Feinbaum what he thought about how Saban would do in broadcasting. And he predicted that in a few years they are going to, if not sooner, they're going to end up moving Saban into the top broadcast booth, that might be a little bit more his speed and the way to best take advantage of him. I agree that would be the best way to take advantage. I disagree that it will happen because I think that there is so much value value tied up in College Game Day that they want every headliner they have on that show. And look, right now, say what you want about Pat McAfee or Kirk Herbstreit. To college football fans, there is one headliner above all the others on that show this year, and it's him.
Yeah, certainly so. And look, Lee Corso still plays his role, obviously, with the headgear stuff, and he wasn't on there this past weekend because they were over there in Ireland, but his role has become more and more diminished, and that's why I'm glad Saban is joining the show, because Corso, for the past handful of years, because of his health issues, has not been able to give that coach insight and perspective like he used to be able to, just because he's not able to have the same type of conversations or be as quick with his analysis of things. So Saban brings that to the table, and hopefully that kind of evolves as the season goes along, where they can make it a little more comfortable for him, to make him, put him in the best opportunity to succeed, I guess is the best way to phrase it.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing a bad job or they are doing wrong by him. I just don't think that it is the way to get the best out of this guy that you've invested reportedly, $7 million, $8 million a year in.
Now, you wrote an article yesterday for Barrett Media that was pretty interesting because this is something that what Saban did, walking away from the sport. Now, again, he's in his 70s, been coached for a long time. It makes a lot of sense. But there's always this swirling rumor. There's a lot of other coaches out there that look at something like what Nick Saban did, like what Dan Mullen did a couple years ago after getting fired at Florida, going to the ESPN desk saying, hey, that might not be as bad of a gig as I think, especially considering all the changes in the college landscape. Or maybe we could see some of these other big-name notable coaches decide, you know what? I'm good. Let me walk away, go work for half the year, and make a couple $1 million just sitting on the ESPN desk instead.
Yeah, the caveats I put on this list is that, like, you're right. Nick Saban is going to turn 73 this year. Clearly, he has had a long, successful career, but if all he was tired of was Tuscaloosa, someone else would have jumped at the chance to hire the guy. So my list is guys that, like, them leaving would be a shock to the sport. And I think the biggest name that I put on there, the one that I get a lot of pushback for, or at least did yesterday when we published it, was Dabo down at Clemson. Like, I don't know how anybody can look at his last few years and not think that he would at least be interested if, be it ESPN or Fox or NBC, CBS, whoever, if they came to him and said, look, man, you can make $7 to $8 million a year here, and you don't have to deal with everything that is changing about college football. You can just come in and talk ball, which seems to be what he wants to do.
Sure. No, and he's been very vocal about his frustrations with NIL, his deal with the transfer portal, and, that's something that's obviously not going away, and in his case, going to continue to get worse as time goes along with this new model of college athletics that's set to be on the horizon as soon as 2025. And again, when you kind of think of coaches that might just say, you know what, I've had enough of this, let me go do something else and make good money by just doing what I enjoy doing, which is talking ball, Dabo Swinney is probably going to hit the top of that list for a lot of people.
Yeah, the other names I had on that list were Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. I think it's clear he does not want to be at Oklahoma State anymore. I mean, he really laid it all out there to try to get the Tennessee job a few years ago when they hired Jeremy Pruitt. He laid it all out there to try to get the Florida job before they hired Dan Mullen. Like, he has really made overtures to get other jobs, and I just don't think that athletic directors appreciate the character he has crafted the way that broadcasting would. I think the things, the mullet, the outspoken political opinions, those kind of things that make him hard to deal with for an athletic director would not be a problem for television. And then, James Franklin, who probably has taken Penn State as far as he can, and Deion Sanders. Like, you can't convince me that Deion wants to keep doing this job after his kids graduate or leave for the NFL.
Well, Deion belongs in front of a TV camera, regardless of whether it's being a coach or a TV personality like that one. That one, I can almost guarantee you is going to happen to some degree whenever his time at Colorado is done.
Yeah, I was on the radio, I did a radio interview about this in Denver yesterday, and one of the guys interviewing me happened to be the sideline reporter for Colorado on their radio broadcast. And he was really taking me to task over, everybody says Deion doesn't want to be there, blah, blah, blah. And, I stick by my guns. Like, it seems everything he has done since the turn of the new year tells you he kind of hates this job, right? Like, he certainly wants to make sure Shiloh and Shedeur are in the best position possible for the NFL. And once that's done, why on earth would he stay? He doesn't want to recruit. He doesn't want to talk to reporters. He doesn't really want to deal with players that are not five-star caliber. Like, he doesn't want to do anything you have to do as a college football coach. And that's fine. I don't blame him. Not everybody wants that job. But let's not pretend that reality doesn't exist. He doesn't want to be there after this year.
I am going to be very intrigued to see what the conversation is come Friday morning if North Dakota State does what I think North Dakota State is going to do tomorrow night, and that is beat Colorado in Boulder.
I disagree with you. I think there's too much turnover at North Dakota State this year, and I think Colorado really does have too much talent. I think that Colorado is going to be very uncomfortable, but I don't think they're going to lose that game.
Well, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that one. I'm intrigued to see what happens. We'll continue on with Dimitri coming back to wrap up hour number 1 of the Extra Point. The Connor Stallions documentary officially dropped yesterday. Was it good? Depends on your definition of good. Did we learn anything? Depends on your definition of learning as well. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up next and everything going on with the Michigan program as penalties from the NCAA are on the horizon. We'll get into that coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head, Dimitri Ravenos joining us on the Love Chevrolet phone lines here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach, the gym, and yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app.
This is Bart Winkler with a Sports Minute, sponsored by Fisher Investments. One thing that Chad Ryland of the Patriots and Anders Carlson of the Packers have in common, they are both kickers that were taken in the draft last year. Another thing they have in common is that yesterday they were both cut. More examples for the never draft a kicker crowd. The position's too volatile, very few are able to separate from the rest, and they probably cost you games along the way as you're trying to develop. We'll see if either team learns their lesson in the future. I'm Bart Winkler.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Correct. All sevens now. We got a $250,000 settlement for a client injured in a car accident when driver illegally turned in front of him.
Dial all sevens now.
The Nestapool Law Firm is not scared to go to court. We got a $2.5 million jury verdict for our client when the other driver failed to yield.
What do? Good heavens. Dial all seven.
To get your attorney, dial 800 all sevens now.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com.
Alan Kennington, responsible for this ad. Office in 1440 Broad River Road, Columbia, South Carolina.
You're hurt. With over 85,000 cases resolved, 12 offices across the state, and over $1 billion recovered in just the past 10 years, you need South Carolina's largest injury law firm on your side. You need George Sink now. George Sink knows South Carolina, and George Sink lawyers will help you every step of the way on your recovery.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-9999.
Hi, I'm Dondi Mercer-Plank, and I am excited to represent the 35-year McDaniels Auto Group as a longtime customer. Whether it is your next sporty Volkswagen, a go-anywhere-you-want Subaru, a dream-making Porsche, that perfect Ford you've always wanted, or the performance of Acura, great selection and an unmatched level of excellence. That, my friends, is the McDaniels difference.
Visit McDanielsAutoGroup.com.
The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. Reminder, Carolina Calls with Coach Beamer coming up tomorrow night. Your last chance to hear from him before the game against Old Dominion on Saturday at 6 o'clock right here on the Game. Demetri Ravenno still joining me on the Love Chevrolet phone lines. I know not everybody's gotten to see it just yet because it dropped yesterday on Netflix, so I won't spend too much time on it, but the Connor Stalions documentary is out. I didn't really learn anything new about the actual sign stealing investigation or what's been going on. I learned a lot about Connor Stalions himself, which is interesting to a degree, but for anybody going into this thinking you're going to get anything groundbreaking, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, look, frankly, it is too soon to be doing a documentary on this, right? We don't even know how this story ends quite yet. I saw my buddy Pat Smith down in Birmingham tweet that really, if you think about the fact that this documentary is already out, shouldn't the NCAA be entitled to some of Connor Stalions' check? Like, if they are not absolutely stripped of power by NIL and the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, Connor Stalions can't even listen to this offer from Netflix to talk about what he did.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair point that you bring up there. I'm not sure how exactly all that works in terms of the compensation stuff, but you're not completely wrong on that. There is one interesting thing that I took away from this. There's a portion of it at the very end where during the interrogation of Connor Stalions, it's a Zoom interview with people at the NCAA. Why they didn't do this in person, I don't know, but it's a Zoom interview, and Stalions recorded it, and it's in the documentary. And his legal team poses a question to the NCAA, and the moderator, whoever the person is with the NCAA, just like bumbles and stumbles answering the question, which I think is a perfect microcosm for what the NCAA is in leading this investigation. So that was probably one of the few things I took away from that I thought was legitimately like good and useful information to see just how, incompetent the NCAA seems to be.
Yeah, but it's also a good encapsulation of how much some of these programs fundamentally misunderstand what is going on here. Who cares what the legal precedent is that the NCAA says it does or doesn't have? It's not a legal entity. This is a group that every school has agreed to be a part of and play by the rules. Now, are the rules really stupid in some cases? Is the NCAA a useless organization in a lot of cases? Yeah, absolutely. But who gives a crap what Connor Stalions' lawyer has or hasn't proved? He's got no power in front of the NCAA.
Yeah, so again, on Netflix, if you want to check it out, again, you'll learn a lot about the man Connor Stalions, and I describe him as Rudy if he was more tactical and cerebral, I guess is the best way to describe it, and you'll learn plenty about that when you watch the documentary.
I would tell everybody, if you want a really good inside look at the NCAA probation process, now granted, this is from a different era, but go look for the documentary, is it called Paid in Mississippi, I believe, I know it's on YouTube. It's done by a guy named Stephen Godfrey, who's a really good college football reporter, and basically follows the NCAA issues that were going on when Ole Miss was trying to rat out Mississippi State, and Mississippi State was trying to rat out Ole Miss. I
think was it SB Nation that did something on that? Were they involved with that one?
Yes. So
yeah, it's
did.
Good.
Yeah, so it's a documentary and a big long form article. I know the article is called Crooked Letters. I cannot remember what the documentary is. I think it's Paid in Mississippi.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the bagmen going on in the before the NIL era and recruiting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Very insightful. So yeah, if you can find that on YouTube, certainly worth a watch. But Demetri, you're going to be joining us each and every Wednesday, and as we get the season officially started this weekend for everybody in the SEC, we want to make some predictions for how this season is going to go. A couple different things here. Starting off, who's going to be Coach of the Year in the SEC when it's all said and done?
I think because of the way people think about and vote for that kind of award, I think it's going to be Kalen DeBoer.
Okay, If he can keep Alabama in the national championship conversation, I think that's probably an easy layup there. Maybe like a Mike Elko if A&M does well enough because their cover's not completely bare.
I mean, I think that the other contenders would be if Lane gets Ole Miss to the SEC championship game. I think it'd be hard to beat him. And honestly, if Texas is a national power, I think there are going to be some SEC writers that sort of want the narrative, right? Of Steve Sarkisian comes in, it's this great redemption story, and he's coach of the year his first year in the conference.
What coach is going to get fired first in the SEC?
This one's a no-brainer, right? It's Sam Pittman. There is a clause in his contract that if he is under 500, his buyout drops by 50%. He is currently 4 games over 500, so I would say by week 6 or 7, look for Arkansas to pull the trigger.
I can't believe he even got this far to have another season to begin with. So get ready for a new Bobby Petrino era out there in Arkansas. That's going to be a sight to behold. The big question going into this season: how many SEC teams make it in to the college football playoff? We know the champs guaranteed to be in. There's got to be more at the at-large spots, but how many is the big question here?
Yeah, I think 4 seems reasonable, and if you made me pick the 4, I would say probably in some order Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. I don't think 5 is outside of the realm of possibility, depending on what Tennessee, Missouri, and LSU do. I'm not a believer in A&M and Oklahoma the way some people are, but 4 seems reasonable. 5 seems possible. I just think that if you get to 5, we're talking about like how much SEC bias is there in this picking of the field.
And lastly, as Carolina gets set kick things off against Old Dominion on Saturday, the end of the season, Carolina's record will be what?
I'm going to say 6-6 with a trip to a bowl game. Probably an unremarkable bowl game, but look, when you didn't make a bowl last year, anything is progress, right?
Well, you've spent a lot of time in the state of Alabama. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with Birmingham, right?
Listen, Birmingham at the holidays, what a sight to behold. But listen, I don't want you to rule out, Tyler, the possibility that you could be spending the holidays in Tampa at the Gasparilla Bowl.
Hey, I would welcome that. That is by far my favorite obscure bowl of all the weird ones we have in college football. Dimitri, appreciate it as always. We'll check in with you next week, and we'll have actual football to talk about, which is exciting.
Yeah, very excited for it. Thanks so much, Tyler.
1 hour down, 1 more hour to go. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on this Wednesday. What's on your wish list for the SEC for South Carolina this year? We'll dive into that coming up next here on the Extra Point on your Wednesday on the Game.
.1075 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal. This month, you could drive home in a brand new Silverado 2500 with financing as low as 5.9% for up to 84 months. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Together, let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
The children's music and dance teacher who couldn't cha-cha.
I was always on my feet. It was just so painful.
Elisa couldn't let her students down, so she stepped up and went to the Good Feet store for personally fitted arch supports.
I would work an entire day, and my feet didn't hurt at the end of the day. That was when I knew, wow, these are different.
But the really good part?
It's good to be dancing together again.
Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
The Good Feet store. Call 1-800-NEW-FEET or visit goodfeet.com.
Bill Gunner for my great friends Rock and Daniel Lucas at Charwood Golf Club. Hey, the fall, better weather, exciting days are right ahead of us, and getting out to Charwood Golf Club is something my son Austin and I love doing because it's a relaxed, fun environment where you can go out, play music, enjoy an afternoon outdoors, and enjoy the excellent layout that is Charwood Golf Club. Line up your tee time today. 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Call Charwood Golf Club today.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local Lodge.
From lazy days and spontaneous adventures to revving up and reconnecting, you can almost feel the excitement building, the road ahead, and a whole new season of possibilities. It's back to cool time right now at Love Chevy with amazing savings on a lot chock full of brand new Tahoes, Suburbans, and the totally redesigned Chevy Traverse. A bolder exterior design, turbocharged V6, best-in-class cargo area, plenty of space for the team and the tailgate. Speaking of football, every day is game day at Love Chevy, where it's all about the fundamentals, honesty, integrity, and straight talk. No ridiculous add-on stickers like the other guys. And who could forget about Love Chevy's $1,000 low price guarantee? Get back to cool today at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline nasal spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
You've got a Pepto predicament, Beach Bum.
Hey, we're heading down to the beach. You coming?
Yeah, Dad. You coming?
I had a little too much to eat at the resort buffet. I need a minute. Oh, you overdid it. And now your beach vacation is giving you belly waves. Undo it with Pepto.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto Chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief so you can get back to making memories.
Let's go, Dad!
When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
The home of the national champion, Gamecocks women's basketball team. Congrats, y'all.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central.
On the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point, hour number 2. Tyler Head along with you, flying solo here on your Wednesday on the Game. Counting down the hours until we see South Carolina finally take the field, play some football against Old Dominion on Saturday, and start answering some questions that we have about this team and about this season. And as Dimitri just predicted there at the end of the last hour, can Beamer and company do enough to get back to a bowl game? 6-6, it's not the sexiest record. And sure, going to Birmingham or the Gasparilla Bowl isn't the most thrilling thing in the world, but it's a step back in the right direction and something that we certainly hope Carolina can do that can set them up for more successful seasons going forward. Because as we've said many times this offseason, there's no hot seat talk of Shane Beamer right now. His job's not in jeopardy going into this season. But if you go out there and have another 5-7 or worse, a 4-8 year, then there's a conversation to be had in the next offseason. Like, okay, what do you do? Is this going, is there a way to salvage this? Is there a way to start going back in the right direction again? Or is it a lost cause? Again, not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it is something that could come down the line if this doesn't start, if this doesn't get back in the right direction. And again, we've brought this up many, many times. When you look at the 3-year sample size of Carolina under Shane Beamer, they overachieved so much in the first 2 years that it makes year number 3 look that much more disappointing. Again, if you rearrange it 5-7 in year 1, 7-6 in year 2, and 8-5 in year 3, we're feeling great about this team right now. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of did things a little bit out of order, which again is why here locally, nobody's saying, oh, Beamer's on the hot seat this season. If he doesn't get it right this year, then he's gone, before 2025. Like, no. He's fine this year. We'll see what happens this year, and then whatever conversations come about in the following offseason. But again, that's way far ahead. One game at a time approach. Got to go 1-0 this week to focus on Kentucky the next week, and so on and so forth. for anybody that listens to this show, you know, a big fan of Josh Pate of CBS Sports 24/7, all that kind of stuff. On his shows, he has what he calls padlock stats. And padlock stats are a specific statistic that, given without context, would give you an indication on how a game or a season or whatever went. Like, you have no other information about this team, this game, or whatever it is, except for this one specific stat, and you have to draw a conclusion based on that stat. That being said, my question to you is, what are a couple of padlock stats that if I told them to you, saying at season's end, it's going to be this for Carolina, you'd have a lot of confidence they ended up having a pretty good season. I'll get to some of mine here in just a moment. But again, we start getting answers to questions this Saturday against Old Dominion and figuring out what the identity of this team is. Now, we think we know what the identity of this team is, but that, up to this point, is based on what we hear from coaches, from, you know, people within the athletics building, as well as what coaches allow the media to see. Now, when Wes and Chris and all of them go out and observe practice during fall camp, they're getting a very narrow window into what's actually going on out there. And again, for the most part this year, they've been watching kick and punt returns. Well, that doesn't tell you a whole lot about the offense or the defense, does it? It doesn't. So you're going off of what coaches are telling you, what your intel is telling you about what's happening in these practices and scrimmages that you aren't there to see. So in a way, the coaches, and they know what they're doing, are controlling the narrative around this team and what areas are strengths, what areas are weaknesses, and so on and so forth. And we can have an idea going into the year of, man, this unit's going to be great. This unit has some work to do, all that kind of stuff. And then it completely flips and changes when the games start getting played, because there's a difference between how you practice and how you scrimmage against your own teammates and how you play in an actual game. So what we know about this team, what we think about this team, could go completely out the window in the first game. We hope it doesn't. We hope, if anything, we're reassured and can confidently say, wow, what they said about the running backs and the linebackers and all this kind of stuff was absolutely true. In fact, it's better than we thought it was going to be. And that sets us up for week 2 and week 3 and all that kind of stuff before that, and leads to a really, really great season. But there is always that chance. And to a degree, it happens every year, where we overestimate and have too much confidence in areas of the team that end up getting exposed once we get into actually playing the season. Let's go with cut number 17 here, Dave. This is Coach Beamer yesterday talking at the end of his presser about balancing what you see in camp versus what you see in actual games.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's a individual basis, body of work. You know, what have they shown in the past? Are they young? Do you live with some things a little bit more, maybe because they're young, whatever it may be. But our players know that, like I said at the beginning of this thing, practices matter, games matter, and it's a total body of work where we know what people are capable of, and it's a production business. I get that. And if we're not getting the production that we need from someone, we've got to be willing to make changes and get somebody else in there. But I'm excited, though, because of the depth more than we've had around here on our entire football team. We'll be able to play a lot of people and get a lot of guys some work. And we're going to play the whole oar at the receiver position. There's a ton of oars, I'm well aware, because we anticipate all those guys playing. I mean, I told the receivers this morning I'd be surprised if we didn't play 9 receivers on Saturday. And, you know, we're going to be a team that continues to get better as the season goes, and that's going to be because of playing a lot of people and guys continue to develop.
And it's going to be a work in progress. As you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to get run this weekend, and a lot of figuring out what exactly you're trying to do and who your key guys are going to be at some of those spots that do have those oars listed. And again, hopefully you have a comfortable enough lead at some point in this game against Old Dominion where you can experiment, you can bring guys in and out and get a feel for what you have before going on the road in week 2 against Kentucky. But again, now the hay is almost in the barn. It's time to go out there and prove it on the field. Again, we know the narratives, we know the storylines surrounding this team that have persisted this entire offseason. Now we got to go out there and see if what we are excited about is true and if what we're worried about can be fixed. Those kind of things. So looping back around to what I said at the start of the segment with padlock stats, right? Where if I told you this specific stat at the end of the season, you would say, well, we probably had a pretty good year. So my question for you is, what are your padlock stats that you think would tell anybody that Carolina had a good season if these were the numbers or whatever at the end of the year? I got 3. Start off with Rocket Sanders going for 1,000 yards. As we heard the other day, he's not on a pinch count. There's no limit to him. He seems to be as healthy can be, and he's ready to go. As we saw 2 years ago at Arkansas, when he is healthy, he is legitimately one of the best running backs, not only in the SEC, but in all of college football. He was 9th that year in FBS rushing yards. And Arkansas hasn't had the best offensive line the past couple of years. In fact, I think Rocket Sanders made up for the inefficiencies of that line to a degree when he was running the way he was running 2 seasons ago. Now, we hope the offensive line is marginally better this year for South Carolina, and if Sanders has a 1,000-yard season, that would hopefully suggest that is certainly the case. But he's going to be the main back. What his splits of the carries are, we don't know, because you do have a lot of talent in Attaway and Juju McDowell, who's listed second the other day. Jordan Howell, somebody people are excited about. Matthew Fuller coming in as true freshman. DJ Braswell, don't forget about him. You've got a lot of backs in this room that we think are going to be involved. But there's no denying the fact that Rocket Sanders is the main guy. And if he is getting the bulkier carries and get over 1,000 yards, I think that suggests this offense is probably going to have a pretty good season. Padlock stat number 2. The defense surrenders less than 24 points per game. That's something that the South Carolina defense has not done since 2017. Defense as a whole has been on the lower end of the SEC these past 3 years in the Beamer and Clayton White era of Gamecock football. What if we heard this entire offseason? Just how excited we should be for the defense. The veterans they have returning and the guys on the defensive line, linebacker, O.D. Fortune at the cornerback spot, as well as the new talent that they've brought in via the transfer portal with guys like Demetrius Knight, Michael Goodwine, as well as these freshmen that people are very excited about. And Dylan Stewart, guys like that are expected to be playmakers right out of the gate and expected to contribute in big ways right from the jump. And again, we're all hoping that is the case. Now, that doesn't mean you go undefeated. That doesn't mean you're the 85 Bears or anything like that. But if you can keep opponents under 24 points per game, you're going to be one of the better defenses in the SEC. That hopefully in turn leads to, at the very least, a 6-6 or better record. And that means that Carolina had a better season and took a step in the right direction. Now, there's a lot of defensive stats that can tell a story about a team, but one specific one I'm focusing on is how many points per game did you surrender? Because if you can keep opponents under 24, I think we're going to be in for a pretty good year overall. Third one, and I wanted to really kind of hit every facet of the game with this one, so I got to throw in the special teams there. If you can give me at least 85% on field goals, and I don't think that's an insane bar to clear. You know what I mean? And we talk about Alex Herrera being a sixth-year guy that has hung around this program, sat behind very capable kickers, but has never gotten the opportunity himself until now. Again, he's never kicked a meaningful field goal in a South Carolina football game. I can already tell you he's probably going to miss some field goals. You know what I mean? Just that happens. I mean, Mitch Jeter even missed 2 last year, and that's actually where I got the 85% number because he was 85.7% last year, going 12 of 14. So if Herrera can just be around that number, if you can make 85% of your field goals, only miss a handful, hopefully not in clutch situations, I think we'll be okay. That is still concerning because we don't know how good he is. And there's a difference between kicking in a game, kicking in a scrimmage, and kicking in, practice. And we're going to learn about that Saturday against, again, a Old Dominion special teams front that's really good at blocking kicks. Second most in FBS in the past 3 seasons. He'll get tested there. But if he can just be, for the most part, consistent, make most of your kicks, especially the important ones, then hopefully that translates to a good season for South Carolina. And points being at a premium, can help win some games too. So that's 3 of my stats that I hope we see come to fruition. That, again, if they all happen, I think South Carolina is going to be in for a very, very good year. One conference that could be in for a bad year is the Big 12. And that could get started in week number 1. I'll dive into why coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Sips and Sounds, the only craft beer, wine, and spirits tasting event held indoors under the cool AC. No rain, no heat, no worries. Unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wine, seltzers, and spirits. Live performances by Ken and Drew of Sister Hazel, Dazer, and the Donovan Twins.
Saturday, September 28th. Get your unlimited tasting wristbands now at sipsandsoundscola.com.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Bill Gunner for my great friends Rock and Daniel Lucas at Charwood Golf Club. Hey, the fall, better weather, exciting days are right ahead of us, and getting out to Charwood Golf Club is something my son Austin and I love doing because it's a relaxed, fun environment where you can go out, play music, enjoy an afternoon outdoors, and enjoy the excellent layout that is Charwood Golf Club. Line up your tee time today. 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Call Charwood Golf Club today.
Honey, would you take a seat? I have a confession to make.
What is it? What's wrong?
Well, I was out driving today and I saw some hookers on the side of the road. A bunch of huge, professional, beautiful-looking hookers. So I did what I was supposed to do. I slowed down and I moved over.
You slowed down for the hookers?
Well, yeah, it's the law. There was a whole fleet of Schroeder's towing trucks assisting with an accident. Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
Schroeder's Towing reminds you to slow down and move over for all first responders.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
There are any number of reasons you might consider selling your home. To move closer to family, live within a smaller budget, or just wanting a change of scenery. Whatever your reasons, having to figure out all the various housing market trends in your area may not be what you signed up for. That's where an agent who is a realtor comes in. Realtors have the expertise to help you find the right price and navigate the process to sell your home in a way that's right for you. That's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Recently, we were introduced to the coolest walkie-talkies, Rapid Radios. And I started thinking about all the crazy weather and outages we've been having. Rapid Radio's perfect in an emergency. It's instant. You push to talk. The devices provide clear contact nationwide. Hold a charge for up to 5 days. No subscriptions or monthly fees. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and get up to 60% off. Free UPS shipping and a free protection bag. Add the code RADIO and get an extra 5% off. Picture this. A stranger with a crowbar pries open a window. A fire breaks out in the kitchen. It's moments like this where every second counts. That's why you need Simply Safe Home Security. With Simply Safe 24/7 monitoring agents acting within 5 seconds of receiving your alarm, assessing the situation, and sending emergency responders. Visit simplysafedan.com. Save 20% on a new system today. simplysafedan.com. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hi, I'm Dondi Mercer-Plank, and I am excited to represent the 35-year McDaniels Auto Group as a longtime customer. Whether it is your next sporty Volkswagen, a go-anywhere-you-want Subaru, a dream-making Porsche, that perfect Ford you've always wanted, or the performance of Acura, great selection and an unmatched level of excellence. That, my friends, is the McDaniels difference.
Visit McDanielsAutoGroup.com.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest until 2025. And don't forget their 15-year parts and labor warranty, $1,500 old system buyback, and guaranteed financing. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate today and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. It is a busy week here on the Game. Coming up on Friday from 6 a.m. until noon, we're all going to be out at Darlington Raceway, getting you set for Cookout Southern 500 weekend, the early game. Jen, Bill, and Preston, as well as myself for the Extra Point from 9 until noon, and then Friday afternoon from 3 until 6. Jay and Elijah are going to be broadcasting live out at Columbia Craft on Green Street down in the Vista, getting you set tailgating for game number 1 between Carolina and Old Dominion, again coming up on Saturday at 4:15, which you can listen to right here on the Game. With week number 1 set to commence starting tomorrow night, I was looking through the schedule of all the conferences, and I think the Big 12 might be in trouble this year, or puts themselves at most risk going into week number 1, I think is maybe the best way to phrase that. We all know, and this has been the case in college football for a long time, you cannot win the national championship in week number 1, but you can lose it. Now, maybe that's a little more incorrect with today's new college football playoff, because regardless of how good or bad you are, if you win your conference championship, you get in no matter what. But when I think about conferences as a whole, and Demetri and I were just debating this at the end of the 9 o'clock hour, with how many SEC teams will get in to the new college football playoff, the common thinking is somewhere around 4, maybe 5 if they're lucky. Same thing for Big 10, 3 or 4. You, of course, have to let in the conference champions from ACC and Big 12 as well. So then you're around 9 or 10. You got to let in a Group 5 team. So really, when you think about it, if things go the way we think they're going to go, there's only going to be maybe 2 to 3 spots available for at-larges from other conferences outside of the Big 10, the SEC. And if Notre Dame is 10-2 or better, they're certainly going to be in the playoff as well, too. So that spot could even be diminished down to 1. And when I look at what the Big 12 schedule is for week number 1, I think it poses some potential dangers to them. Now, the Big 12 in general is in an interesting spot this year. And they've been described by many, including myself, as the most wide-open conference in college football because when you look at it, historically speaking, this is a conference that's been dominated by Oklahoma and Texas. Of course, both those teams now in the SEC. So when you remove those teams from the conference, who's the top dog? I think it's easy for a lot of people to point at Oklahoma State and say, oh, now it's theirs. And they were in the conference championship game a year ago after beating Oklahoma in Bedlam. But I can't sit here and confidently say, from what we've seen over Gundy's teams over the years, that they're just going to run the show down there. You know what I mean? Can they win the Big 12 championship? Sure. But I don't expect them to be this consistent, top-of-the-line team in the conference every single year because they seem to trip over their own feet sometimes. Because you'll have a win in Bedlam against Oklahoma and then lose to South Alabama or get in a shootout with BYU or things like that. They've never been a consistently dominant enough team where I can say, yeah, they're definitely going to be leading the charge in the Big 12 every single year now, and this year's no different than that. So what does it mean for the conference as a whole, and how many teams can they get in possibly to the college football playoff. And again, when I look across the slate of games in week number 1 for the Big 12, a couple of them stick out to me that could potentially lead the conference as a whole to being in danger. I mentioned a few minutes ago with Dimitri that tomorrow night you have North Dakota State going to Boulder, take on Colorado and Deion's crew. North Dakota State, not as powerful as they've been in years past, but still, the culture of that program is winning. National championships, being in the FCS playoffs every single year. They know how to win up there in North Dakota. And Colorado hasn't quite figured out the winning thing just yet. That could be a lot of intrigue around that game tomorrow that a lot of people are going to be watching for the Deion factor, but also, hey, North Dakota State might have a chance to upset these guys. Is it even an upset when North Dakota State beats an FBS team anymore? I don't think it is. I mean, there was a streak there for where they beat at least one every single year for a while. So I wouldn't call it an upset, but a very plausible loss for a team like Colorado. TCU, going on the road to Stanford, now in the ACC, funny enough. Stanford, of course, is not a good program. They went 3-9 last year. They've been at the bottom of the barrel of whatever conference they've been in, the Pac-12 more recently, now in the ACC. They're a far cry from the David Shaw and Andrew Luck days of years past, over a decade ago now. That being said, TCU was only 1-4 on the road last year. Again, this is a TCU team that played for a national championship at the beginning of last calendar year in January of 2023 and came back to down to earth pretty quickly after that in the fallout of last season, which included that week 1 loss to Colorado. That provides a tricky game. West Virginia is hosting a top 10 Penn State team. A Penn State team that is very solid. Now, are they national championship solid? No. But are they a team that we expect to be in the playoffs? Yes. That's a potential loss for West Virginia in week number 1. I mentioned Oklahoma State a little bit earlier. They play South Dakota State to open the season. I don't know how much attention you pay to FCS football. South Dakota State is the back-to-back FCS national champions. They are doing what North Dakota State did for so long and now kind of creating their own dynasty when it comes to FCS football. I've seen in years past. They know how to beat FBS teams, too. Oklahoma State, if you're not careful, you can trip up on that one. Remember the South Alabama game? And that one wasn't even close. As Beamer mentioned in that clip I played for you earlier, they got mauled by South Alabama. It's not unrealistic to think that South Dakota State could come in there and beat Oklahoma State in week number 1. UNLV taking on Houston. UNLV is one of the best group of 5 programs that there is. Houston's still trying to find its feet in the Big 12 in its second year in the conference. Wyoming taking on Arizona State. Wyoming took down Texas Tech last year in a thriller in week number 1. They are I think, a better program than Arizona State, who is, again, at the bottom of the Pac-12 as they are trying to build with Kenny Dillingham out there as their head coach. Now, I throw all these scenarios out there at you. And yes, some of these teams that I just mentioned, like Arizona State, are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the Big 12. But what this does is hurts the overall perception of the conference. And look, they're not all going to lose these games, right? But there's a good chance a handful of them could, right? Where you're starting off the season where a majority of your teams or a good chunk of your teams have lost to opponents of lesser value from Group of 5 programs, from FCS programs, or whatever it may be, that drags the conference as a whole down. Now, I still think Utah is the best team in the Big 12. And they're going to be able to win most of their games, win the Big 12 championship, and find their way in the college football playoff. But I can't confidently sit here and tell you right now that there's going to be another Big 12 team that's like 10-2 or 9-3. There's going to be another one that's going to play in Dallas for the conference championship game. But I can't tell you that, yeah, even in losing that game, if they drop to 9-4 or something like that, that's going to be enough to get them in the college football playoff. The Big 12 needs a really good week number 1 to hopefully, in their case, set them forward for a path where they can get multiple teams in the college football playoff, because the more teams you have in, the better chance you have of winning the entire thing is, right? Now, do I think there's any Big 12 team that has a chance to win the national championship? I don't, but the more the better for your individual conference at least. And I think that the Big 12 is at most risk of really getting off the season to a bad start if week 1 ends up going sideways for them. We're hoping things don't go sideways for South Carolina on Saturday. Kickoff against Old Dominion coming at 4:15 right here on the game. Pregame coverage starting at 11 a.m. with Gamecocks Game Day. Myself and Terry Ford broadcasting live from the party lot at Sound and Images right there on Bluff Road across the street from Williams-Brice Stadium. Come by, say hi to us, wave to us. We'll probably have some T-shirts and all those kind of other things to give away as we get you set for the season opener for the Gamecocks against the Monarchs of Old Dominion. Of course, everything can be heard right here on the game and in Myrtle Beach with kickoff starting at 4:15. It is Wednesday. Southern 500s this weekend. Time to talk a little racing with Jen Jensen. Coming up next, it is The Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday on the game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
The Game TV. From lazy days and spontaneous adventures to revving up and reconnecting, you can almost feel the excitement building, the road ahead, and a whole new season of possibilities. It's back to cool time right now at Love Chevy with amazing savings on a lot chock full of brand new Tahoes, Suburbans, and the totally redesigned Chevy Traverse. A bolder exterior design, turbocharged V6, best-in-class cargo area, plenty of space for the team and the tailgate. Speaking of football, every day is game day at Love Chevy, where it's all about the fundamentals, honesty, integrity, and straight talk. No ridiculous add-on stickers like the other guys. And who could forget about Love Chevy's $1,000 low price guarantee? Get back to cool today at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy. Did you know you could use your body's own healing properties to revitalize your achy joints? I didn't. Well, guess what? The good folks at QC Kinetics can help you with real lasting pain relief. Hey, it's Preston Thorne, and I'm talking about regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics has new medicine. And I tell you what, they didn't have this way back in the days when I used to play. Go all the way back to 2004. If you had a torn ACL, that was it. But now the good folks at QC Kinetics can give you solid new advice and help you enhance your joints, improve mobility, and get back to doing the stuff you love. I wish I would have had this way back then. You can enhance your joints and improve mobility and get back to doing the stuff you love, whatever that is, playing ball, playing with your kids, walking, or just getting out of a chair. Without pain and without drugs, no surgery, and especially no downtime. Call them up for a consultation. It's totally free. Give them a call at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Do you like to play golf?
Are you passionate about helping others?
Then join us at our 16th annual Oliver Gospels Charity Classic,
where all proceeds support the care of men, women, and children at Oliver Gospel and Toby's Place.
Assemble your team and help us golf for good on October 7th at Fort Jackson Golf Club.
Go online to olivergospel.org/golf tournament to sponsor or sign up today for the tournament.
Is that your new Nissan Rogue?
Yeah. Crazy story. I'm at the Nissan end of summer sales event when Laura, the saleswoman, asks,
"Want to test drive the Rogue?"
I'm like, "Let's go." We're driving when Laura says,
"Want to see something cool? VC turbo engine."
I hit the gas and whoosh. I'm like, "Okay, wasn't expecting that." Laura goes,
"Check this out."
She shows me the miles per gallon and I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty impressive fuel economy."
These new Nissan Rogues are going fast.
I knew I had to have that Nissan Rogue. Crazy, right?
Wait till you hear how I got my Nissan Sentra. Get up to $2,500 total savings on remaining select early model 2024 Rogue Platinum trims. 2024 EPA fuel economy estimates from 28 city 34 highway to 30 city 37 highway for 2024 Nissan Rogue. Actual mileage may vary. Total savings consists of $1,250 retail customer cash plus $1,250 bonus cash on select remaining 2024 Rogue inventory as available at your local dealership. Select Rogue bonus cash available on 40% of dealers' most aged inventory. Updated weekly. Available on purchase from new dealer stock. Contact your local dealer for current inventory information. Ends 9/3/24.
The Gamecock Go Pass is back. For only $20 a month, you'll receive access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. To learn more about the Gamecock Go Pass, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
Hey, it's Rich Eisen here. Join me and my compadre, Chris Brockman, every Monday on the Overreaction Monday podcast.
You're also saying the record's going to go down.
I'm saying the record's going down anyway.
I don't think you're off on this at all. like you're spot on here. I don't think this is an overreaction because we have no idea what we're reacting to. Come react or overreact with us. How would you say that? An overreaction, sir. Overreaction Monday. Wherever you listen, it's game over. Over, man.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Wednesday on the Game. And as we do each and every Wednesday, time to talk a little NASCAR with Jen Jensen from the early game. And Jen, as it does each and every year, the Daytona Summer Race once again delivered a lot of excitement, a surprise winner, and a little bit of controversy coming away from it as well.
It doesn't tend to not deliver, does it? What an exciting race. So many variables and so many people finishing the race in top 10 capacity that you would never have bet any money on.
You know, the funny thing is, and this happened with the summer race 2 years ago that Austin Dillon won, and I think like B.J. McLeod and some other back marker got a top 10. There was a guy that hit a parlay and won like tens of thousands of dollars for getting three obscure drivers in the top 10 because, again, this is a race of attrition where a lot of the guys running up front get caught up in big wrecks or flipping over or whatever it may be, and if you're a B.J. McLeod or a Cody Ware that can sit back there and just bide your time, then you can kind of luck your way into a top 10 sometimes.
I kind of wish I had invested in Parker Retzlaff. Who had heard that name other than in the Xfinity Series? And all of a sudden he finishes 7th. Like, what?
Well, not only that, but he was a critical piece in those last couple laps because on the final restart, which ended up being a green-white checkered, you had Harrison Burton and you had Kyle Busch up there on the front row. And Parker Retzlaff, who driving for Beard Motorsports, has an affiliation with RCR, was kind of supposed to work with the 8 car, didn't really do that, ended up with the 21, and in a way helped propel Harrison Burton to his first career victory.
Yep, who knew that he'd be involved in that? It was really everything you could hope for and everything that you didn't even know that you wanted to see at the end of that race, for sure. And I'll admit, I love seeing Harrison Burton win, but I just was kind of hoping Kyle could eke out that win, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of a bittersweet in a lot of ways, depending on who you cheer for. But, I think it's so cool. For one, Harrison Burton, he's had a rough go of it in the Cup Series. This is his 98th career start. He hadn't had a whole lot of success up to this point. He's already lost his ride for next year. Josh Berry's going to be in that car. So Harrison Burton is trying to figure out what to do in 2025 and to go out there not only to win the race, but to put yourself in the playoffs in addition to getting the 100th win for the Wood brothers. There's so many storylines baked into this one win alone.
Absolutely. And how fun. And it was so great to see his dad in the booth and, fist pumping. And they're like, hey, you guys get out of the booth, go down and celebrate. I mean, how cool is that for him to watch his son compete so well at the very end? And a lot of pressure on him because he really hasn't been in that kind of a situation that many times. So to come away with this big win, just how fun is that? So, no, at the end of the day, the storylines really serve up so much better with Harrison winning.
And, there's been a share of conversation coming away from this because Harrison Burton entered that race 34th in driver standings as the last of all full-time drivers that have competed in every single race in terms of points scored. He's now in the NASCAR playoffs in the top 16. He's guaranteed to be able to run for the championship. Is he going to get eliminated in the first round? Probably, but he is in there right now, while the likes of Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch are not in based on the qualifications for said system. And look, you and I have talked about this before. This is not the perfect system. There's no perfect system, quite frankly, for deciding a champion in racing. Even the traditional system had its flaws, too. And I thought Chase Elliott had a really good answer when posed this question yesterday in his media availability. He's like, look, we all show up at Daytona in the spring. We know what the rules are. We know the criteria for making the playoffs. We know the criteria for advancing in the playoffs. We know the criteria for winning the championship. We all agree to it. We all go out on the racetrack and know that's what the rules are. And within the context of it, Harrison Burton did what he needed to do to qualify for the NASCAR playoffs, and now we'll get a shot to run for the championship.
Yep. I mean, he didn't pull anybody out of the way. He didn't. I mean, he legitimately won that race. He held off Kyle Busch. And he did everything he could. And is it odd to have somebody who, like you said, was so far down in points to actually be running for a championship? But, that's what makes the sport kind of unique. And I kind of look forward to seeing. There's something that makes me think he might advance. I don't know. Maybe they'll have some magic that they come up with. That's going to be my far-off bet.
We'll certainly have to see what happens with Burton when the playoffs start here in a couple weeks. One more thing away from Saturday. Going back to 2 weeks ago, Corey LaJoie flipping at Michigan. NASCAR implemented an additional roof rail on the cars to try and limit them turning over at the high speeds they were going to be turning in Daytona. It seemed to work for Michael McDowell when he got tangled up in that big wreck in turns 1 and 2, but did not work so well for Josh Berry as he went tumbling, very akin to what his teammate Ryan Preece did last year on the backstretch of Daytona, as once again the next-gen car finds its way to get in the air at these high speeds.
Yeah, and when you were looking at the aerodynamics and, like you said, that roof rail, and kind of interesting on the back how that there was an additional addition to the flap back there. The aerodynamics is fascinating. I love watching that. Don't understand all of it, but it really felt like, okay, maybe they've actually nailed something. And then you see him go, end over end, but again, a testament to NASCAR safety, because they had just implemented that after Michigan to try to make things better and safer. They've reinforced, as far as like the top part of the car, they've reinforced that. So when he was on upside down, he was so well protected. You saw that didn't really cave in, and that made such a difference. And for him to say after the race, yeah, it probably looked worse than it really was, it's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like safety's, they're making strides.
They are, and here's the thing. Again, we've had 3 years of the next-gen car now. It's going to take something structurally pretty significant, I think, to prevent these cars from flying. A lot of people point to the fact that the underside of the car is flat. It's almost kind of like an airplane wing. When it gets enough air under it, it just kind of sends the car over. So NASCAR's really going to have to go back to the drawing board. It's going to take more than a 2-inch piece of plexiglass to fix or Lexan to fix this kind of thing. They're going to have to really put their brains together in the offseason and figure out what they need to do to try and prevent these cars from flipping as easily as they have been.
Yeah, I agree. There's research and development, I'm sure, is 365 days a year process for them. But as long as they keep working at it, and I just feel like they're so much stronger than they were a few years ago, that top part of his car would have been crushed. So, okay, we're good with that. If the cars do go up, then at least there's other kinds of safety where a lot of it's breaking away and that sort of thing.
We now turn our attention to the Darlington Raceway, the track that is too tough to tame, where we'll all be out there on Friday morning getting set for Cookout Southern 500 weekend. This year, unlike years past, it is the final race of NASCAR's regular season instead of the start of the playoffs because of the way the schedule fell and everything like that. So I think that creates a little different intrigue in this race compared to years past where everybody goes into that race. Yes, you obviously want to win to advance, but points are at a premium for the guys in the playoffs. This is different, especially with what Harrison Burton's win does to the playoff standings. You have Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, all the first three out as of right now. Bubba Wallace is back 21, Chastain's back 27, and Busch is back 106. Yeah, could Bubba Wallace point his way in? Sure. Is that the most plausible thing? No. I think you have a race where literally everybody in the field is only concerned with trying to win. For the guys in the playoffs, that's another chance for playoff points to help build their, equity for the playoffs itself. But the guys outside, they're all looking at this as a must-win race.
Absolutely. And the thing is, this isn't a race where they are going to lay back because it is a crown jewel track. So they want to win that race. Everybody wants to win. So, there's a lot on the line and a lot of opportunities for heartbreak, but there's a lot of opportunities for a really great way to lead into the playoffs.
And I look at the list of guys. Chris Buescher's above the cut line now, doesn't have a win. Martin Truex doesn't have a win. Ross Chastain, who's, again, below the cut line. Kyle Busch, like a ton of guys that run really well at this track. And Chris Buescher was in position to maybe win back in the spring until he tangled with Tyler Reddick. A lot of guys that don't have wins have a very good shot at picking up that win this weekend.
They do, absolutely, and securing that spot. Again, are the chances of Bubba, overtaking Buescher in that, final 16 spot, probably not so great. But Everybody wants to win. It's the easiest way to get in.
Absolutely. And that's what the excitement of this playoff is. And again, I'll say this, it's not the perfect system. I accept it for what it is, but you can't deny when you go into a race with all these storylines and all these factors set to take place, you can't help but be excited and intrigued by what you're going to see unfold on Sunday night.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I'm going to be watching several drivers just for all of that. Like, what are the strategies going to be? Are they going to be a little different than they were at Darlington in May? Like, what are the approaches to the race? So it's going to be fascinating to watch how they run. You're running where, you're going to be getting into nighttime, so the racing will change a little bit. And Darlington's going to put on a great show once again in a unique position of, that final spot before you get into the playoffs.
I think the biggest question is, will the Norris Sellers once again be on top of Brad Keselowski's pit box? Because that certainly seemed to be a good luck charm when he won back there in the spring.
Boy, wasn't it, though? And I know there's two of us who will be doing the I Spy game to see if we can, find Lenoris. And
he's not easy to find. He's not hard to find. I'll say that much.
No. I know he had such a cool shirt on last in the spring, so that was kind of fun. But, I'd love to see who all is going to be out there because, again, this race, a little bit bigger, a little bit more prestige, so it actually could be kind of fun to see some maybe a few celebrity sightings out there.
Certainly looking forward to it. And, again, we'll be out there Friday morning from 6 until noon getting you set for not only the first weekend of college football but also Cookout Southern 500 weekend as well. And, Jen, we'll have plenty to talk about next week as we set the table for the playoffs.
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Tyler.
Absolutely. Jen Jensen from the early game joining us. She does each and every Wednesday talk a little bit of racing. We'll come back, wrap up today's edition of The Extra Point, talk about some of the clock rules in college football and why things might be trending in the wrong direction. That's coming up next. Extra Point, Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Carolina Calls
with head coach Shane Beamer.
Thanks to everyone for coming out. What an awesome crowd on a Thursday night.
This Thursday at 6 p.m. on The Game.
I'm Amy Lawrence with a Sports Minute sponsored by Angie. Angie makes it easier than ever to get your home projects done well. Get started at Angie.com. It may be hard to believe, but the Kansas City Royals have tracked down the Guardians atop the AL Central. With the best record in the American League since the All-Star break, the Royals have erased a 7-game deficit. This is the team that lost 106 games a year ago. And the Guardians were running away with it, but they've dropped 9 of 10 and are below 500 since the break. I'm Amy Lawrence.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie, and one thing I've learned is that you buy a house, but you make it a home. Because with every fix, update, and renovation, it becomes a little more your own. So you need all your jobs done well. For nearly 30 years, Angie has helped millions of homeowners hire skilled pros for the projects that matter. From plumbing to electrical, roof repair to deck upgrades. So leave it to the pros who will get your jobs done well. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects, but you got the idea. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's.
See website for details. Lending Store is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Man, where did you get the cash to get your car fixed? I thought you were Baroque.
That's easy. LendingStore.com.
And how did you pay your kids' medical bills? Aren't your credit cards maxed out?
LendingStore.com.
And I suppose LendingStore.com is helping you pay your rent, too?
You know it.
Need cash fast? Go to LendingStore.com. They'll connect you to a lender in minutes to find out if you can get $500 to $5,000 as soon as tomorrow, regardless of your credit history. No paperwork, no phone calls. Just a few clicks on your smartphone and you'll find out if you're getting the extra cash you need.
Yo, that is fast. I got bills to pay and I just got approved.
If you have bills to pay, get the cash you need by going to LendingStore.com. Don't wait. Go to LendingStore.com. That's LendingStore.com.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Tom Kelly's carbon fiber mountain bike. Because more than riding his carbon fiber mountain bike, Tom loves telling people about his carbon fiber mountain bike. Friends, family, even a local barista knows about his carbon fiber mountain bike. And that's why Tom's carbon fiber mountain bike, if you haven't heard about it, is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head wrapping up hour number 2 here before we jump in to the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs, where I believe we are set to be joined by a very special guest today. So keep it locked right here to find out who that is here coming up in just a few minutes' time. Want to dive into something that we haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about this offseason, but is going to play a very big factor in college football this year and for years going forward, that being the new clock rules. Last year, of course, the new rule was implemented where the clock no longer stops on first downs, which has been a staple of college football and what set it apart from the NFL for, close to 50 years, I think. I think it goes back to the 70s when that rule was implemented, with the exception being the final 2 minutes of either half. So 2 minutes for halftime, 2 minutes for the end of the game. The clock does start to stop on first down at that point in time. This year, they've now added a 2-minute warning like the NFL does, where you have a hard timeout at 2 minutes and then the clock rules reset after that. Coach Beamer yesterday, cut number 9 here, Dave, talks about managing situations when it comes to that new 2-minute warning.
Yeah, great question. It's hard until you really do it. One, taking time over the summer and looking back at scenarios, whether it be the NFL or college situations, where if there had been a 2-minute warning, how this situation would have been handled with a 2-minute warning when it happened without it in the past. In other words, watching NFL games and kind of anytime I watch a game, it's hard for me to just watch it. I think about it as a head coach. Okay, what would I do here and whatnot? So watching NFL games and thinking about that, but that's even different because the clock doesn't stop on a first down in the NFL. So, but trying to put yourself in as many of those situations, and then we do 2-minute quite a bit in practice. And making sure that we have enough scenarios for myself, but not just myself, but Clayton, Dow, Joe D, that I create a scenario in practice where it involves the 2-minute warning and whatnot. Because there'll be things that come into play on special teams because of it now, offense and defense. And probably the biggest thing for me is just you have to adjust all of your, okay, in the past, it was ingrained in me, all right, if there's 2 minutes, whatever, left on the clock, and the other team has this number of timeouts or that number of timeouts, here's the magic number that we need to get to be able to take a knee if we're winning, or here's the magic number that we can get to here's when we need to call our timeouts to potentially get the ball back. And now all of that has changed. So really just trying to wrap my head around the new numbers, if you will. But it'll certainly be different, and it'll be great change. And we've tried to implement it as much as we can in practice as well.
Now, again, from a strategy standpoint, I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think it's more being mindful than anything else that it is there, and you do have potentially that extra timeout at your disposal, depending on if you're on offense or on defense there. So I don't think it's going to change a whole lot strategy-wise for what you're doing as far as coaches go. It is going to change the viewing experience, though. And it's something that college football, all sports in general, have been trying to shave down the total times of games, right? Like Major League Baseball went to the pitch clock last year to try and cut down what was over 3 hours to somewhere around 2.5, and they've done an exceptional job with that. When you look at college football, though, with last year's clock running rule, You would expect a significant decrease in total times of games. Really shaved off about 5-6 minutes, which isn't anything too drastic. And again, it kind of warrants the question of, is this significant enough to have been done in the first place? If really that's all you're getting out of it when you're taking away, 12 to 15 plays a game, depending on what game it is. Like the game between Florida State and Georgia Tech on Saturday, I think there was only under 120 total plays in that game. Both teams got 7 possessions, and they were going on long drives, so it certainly ate that clock up pretty quickly. So we're getting less college football based on these clock rules, but it's taking right around the same amount of time. I went back and did the math on the 4 games that involved FBS teams over the weekend, and they came out to right at 3 hours and 16 minutes, which is exactly what the average was for the most part last year for games compared to the year before, where it was 3 hours and 22 minutes. So again, we're getting less college football and cramming more commercials in. In fact, watching the Florida State-Georgia Tech game, there was a point where after Georgia Tech scored its second touchdown, it was 5.5 minutes between when they scored that touchdown. And yes, you had an extra point. You had a kickoff in between that. But 5.5 minutes between when Georgia Tech scored their touchdown and when Florida State took their first snap of the following drive. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? And watching college football this past year and through the first couple of games of week 0, it just feels very stop and start, very clunky for the most part. You know what I mean? College football is a game of momentum and rhythm, and it's very fast-paced, very quick. And it just kind of feels like watching the game now is so sluggish because the commercial breaks are longer, because there's more commercial breaks. Now we have an additional stoppage with a 2-minute warning, which I was told in the offseason was not going to be a commercial break. It was just going to be a pure timeout that was going to be quick, and they were going to reset everything and continue on with playing the game. But if I recall, watching most of the games this weekend, they did indeed take a commercial break after that 2-minute warning did happen. So again, it hurts the viewing experience. Nobody wants to watch more commercials, and it's unfortunate that this great game of college football that we have is being affected by these rules that are meant to speed the game up, meant to streamline it. Because yes, we have shorter attention spans now. We're sitting down for 3.5 hours to watch a game isn't everybody's cup of tea. I personally love it. Most of you probably personally love it as well, because we're ingrained in this love for college football and have been for a long time, where the length of games don't really matter. But if you're objective is to try and speed things up, then it should be something significant, not just a couple of minutes to be able to cram in a ton more commercials like these TV providers have been doing. But it's the double-edged sword of where we're at in college football, where you have ESPN and Fox paying exorbitant amounts to be able to broadcast these games. They got to make it up on the back end, and unfortunately that comes with commercials. And unfortunately that's the reality that it seems like we're going to have to live with college football going forward for the time being, with the expansion of the playoff and everything like that, garnering more and more money from these TV media companies. So just a little bit of a nugget there. It'd be interesting to see how this evolves as the season goes along and what our thoughts are as time persists when it comes to these clock rule changes. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. And I tease a special guest, the one and only Cornbread Cowboy, set to join Wes, Chris, and myself coming up in the next hour on your Wednesday here on The Game.
.1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
All right, want to tell everybody about our friends over at Integrated Media, Michael, Nathan, and their whole crew. They can come out to your home and make sure that you have the very best setup to get you ready for college football season. Wherever you're watching the games, your living room, your screen porch, your patio, your outdoor space, your man cave, make sure that they can take it to the next level for you by calling Integrated Media. It's 803-948-8327. That's how they can. That's how you can get in touch with them to come out to your home. You can also check out their website, integratedmediainc.com. Or if you want some examples of the really cool past work that they've done at homes like mine, Integrated Media Columbia on Instagram and Facebook. Some great photos, some great inspiration photos and examples of the outstanding work that they've done. You don't have to use the big box stores to get your equipment. They can source it for you. They use the best. They install it the best. You can have a setup that will make your neighbors envious. IntegratedMediaInc.com or 803-948-8327.
This year, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for a whole year. You heard that right. Purchase a brand new system in 2024 and get no payments and no interest until 2025. Do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air today for your free estimate. 803-677-1500. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Back for a limited time only, it's Firehouse Subs Barbecue Cuban Sub featuring slow-smoked pulled pork, honey ham, melted Swiss, golden mustard barbecue sauce, chipotle slaw, and spicy pickle chips, all on a toasted sub roll. It's Southern roots with a Cuban twist. Try the Barbecue Cuban Sub at Firehouse Subs today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. At Firehouse Subs, a portion of every purchase helps provide much-needed life-saving equipment to first responders across the country. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
From lazy days and spontaneous adventures to revving up and reconnecting, you can almost feel the excitement building, the road ahead, and a whole new season of possibilities. It's back to cool time right now at Love Chevy with amazing savings on a lot chock full of brand new Tahoes, Suburbans, and the totally redesigned Chevy Traverse. A bolder exterior design, turbocharged V6, best-in-class cargo area, plenty of space for the team and the tailgate. Speaking of football, every day is game day at Love Chevy, where it's all about the fundamentals, honesty, integrity, and straight talk. No ridiculous add-on stickers like the other guys. And who could forget about Love Chevy's $1,000 low price guarantee? Get back to cool today at South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the